Hey guys, welcome back to another fun little video here I wanted to put together. And I thought to myself, how cool would it be if we just took a stroll down memory lane with all the devices that came out with Google. So we're talking the Nexus and Pixel. And so here's this timeline for you. And this will be fun. So we're going to jump right into the Nexus One. Obviously, this is the first Nexus device released. Now, the cool thing about this is that HTC was the first partner that Google partnered up with for the Nexus One. As you can see, it had a little trackball at the bottom, so it still maintains some quirkiness to it, but it gave pure stock vanilla Android. Which also, if you didn't know, the Nexus brand was intentionally for developers to optimize their app for Android. No one knew it would catch on to Android enthusiasts. The Nexus S, obviously the S standing for Samsung, because Samsung was the partner with Google who built this device. As you guys can see, it kind of showcased Samsung's, their little hump that they have at the bottom with their Galaxy devices back in the day before things switched up to like all glass and metal. It still maintained a budget-friendly option there, so it didn't cost too much, and it also debuted gingerbread, which was actually pretty cool. Well, it finalized that gingerbread, so the next up after that was the Galaxy Nexus, which obviously, to make sure you knew was built by Samsung, they threw in the name Galaxy. So it really showed a partnership between Google and Samsung, as the Galaxy Nexus was it. Debuting with Ice Cream Sandwich, the Galaxy Nexus was one that, really started to pop off when people were starting to pay attention to the Nexus brand and Google. Instead of opting for other Android devices that had heavy skins on it, you can get a Galaxy Nexus and have pure stock vanilla Android, which was always a big thumbs up. Following that, Google switched tracks and went with LG. And here we have the Nexus 4, which is the first Nexus device to really have more of a premium look and feel to it. As both the front and back was made of glass, there were uncounted videos of how many people had smashed the back of the device because it was made of glass. But it really showed that Google was wanting the Nexus to evolve from what it was to what it is now. So yeah, this one is one that people still love today and still buy, even though it's really old. The Nexus 5 was one that was really unique. Other than the fact that, there was leaks about this phone, it also came with, KitKat, and that was the first time Google had partnered up with another company. So I don't know if you guys remember buying KitKat bars and getting like, $5, gift codes for buying a KitKat bar or getting other various prizes. But yeah, the Nexus 5, also by LG, was probably one that a lot of people really liked, but it didn't have the best battery life. And so from that point, Google decided to partner up with Motorola and come out with the Nexus 6. Now, this was a huge beast of a phone. If you had the Nexus 6, I'm pretty sure your hands are still warped from trying to hold this thing. This thing was massively huge. It was good. And obviously, we've seen, just how well that if Motorola had stayed with Google, how things would have came out if Google still owned Motorola. But sadly, they sold them to Lenovo. But other than that, massively huge phone, but very, very good. Small quirks here and there, but still, huge phone. That's all we can say. The Nexus 5X was Google's return back to LG, but they commissioned LG to build the budget option of the Nexus, as in this year, they had dropped two Nexus devices. The Nexus 5X, which was built by LG, had more of a plastic build and more of a subtle price. If you wanted to have the Nexus and stock Android experience, then you went with the Nexus 5X if you wanted to save some money. However, that wasn't the only company that Google went to, as for the first time, Google went to Huawei with the Nexus 6P. Obviously, the 6P, P standing for premium, the Nexus 6, basically premium version, built with, with metal, just felt more premium in the hand, but not different from the Nexus 5X, a little bit bigger display. And so, yeah, this was the last. The 5X and the 6P were the last of a dynasty, as from this point, Google decided they were going to switch tracks and kind of go up against Apple and their iPhone by really having their own hardware. So Google bought HTC's development team, or at least a portion of it, and came out with this, the Pixel. Now the Pixel was basically Google's way of saying, hey, we are entering into the hardware game, but they weren't ready to go head to head with Apple and their iPhone. They wanted to get it right, and so with this one, which is probably one of my favorite ones, it had some issues regarding the camera, but stuff that could actually be corrected and fixed over time. And again, my favorite one out of all the Pixels. But after that came the follow-up of the Pixel 2, which did have issues, mostly with the screen. Screen burn-in, pink display instead of white. It was nightmares for a lot of phone enthusiasts. But again, Google was still new into this, and so at least for me, it was forgiven on my part. I never bought the Pixel 2 and I don't intend to, but you know, you got to go through a lot of fails to get things right. And so from this point, while the Pixel 2 was slightly forgiven by some, Google decided to show how well AI was for them by bringing out the Pixel 3, which one of the main things that's noted about the Pixel 3 is night sight. The ability to take photos in low light and have AI correct it by brightening it up and fixing a lot of the imperfections in the shot to make it really clear. That was pretty good, but the pricing was pretty high on it. And a lot of people were still like, Google, you're pretty new with hardware, so I'm not sure about spending $800 on your Pixel 3. And so the rumors of a budget option was circulating, and that actually turned out to be true with the Pixel 3a. And so with the Pixel 3a, it was Google's way of saying, here, you can have the Pixel 3 minus water resistance, minus wireless charging, but still get the same photo capabilities, as well as, even though it had the Snapdragon 670, the 670 was almost as smooth and fast as the 845 minus a few things, but still made the phone feel much, much, much like the Pixel 3. Just minus a few things, and of course the big obvious, it was made of polycarbonate, so not glass, but plastic. So that's it for the memory lane trip down Nexus and Pixel. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment if you guys want to share your thoughts. If you had any of those devices, it'd be cool to know how you guys like them. Hit a heart on IGTV if you watched it there, or a thumbs up on YouTube. Would really appreciate that. Follow me as well. And again, thanks for checking out the video. And as always, aloha.